Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
The most important or necessary part of something. The basis of this drink is orange juice. A relation that provides the foundation for something. He worked on an interim basis. The fundamental assumptions from which something is begun or developed or calculated or explained. The whole argument rested on a basis of conjecture. A terrorist network intensely opposed to the United States that dispenses money and logistical support and training to a wide variety of radical Islamic terrorist groups, has cells in more than 50 countries. Of low birth or station, base, is archaic in this sense. Base-born wretches with dirty faces. Use purified cocaine, by burning it and inhaling the fumes. Lowest support of a structure. It was built on a base of solid rock. A support or foundation. The base of the lamp. The most important or necessary part of something. A place that the runner must touch before scoring. Illegitimate. Numeration system, the positive integer that is equivalent to 1 in the next higher counting place. A phosphoric ester of a nucleoside, the basic structural unit of nucleic acids, DNA or RNA. A lower limit. Serving as or forming a base. The painter applied a base coat followed by 2 finishing coats. The fundamental assumptions from which something is begun or developed or calculated or explained. Linguistics, the form of a word after all affixes are removed. The place where you are stationed and from which missions start and end. The stock of basic facilities and capital equipment needed for the functioning of a country or area. The industrial base of Japan. Having or showing an ignoble lack of honor or morality. That liberal obedience without which your army would be a base rabble. Any of various water-soluble compounds capable of turning litmus blue and reacting with an acid to form a salt and water. Bases include oxides and hydroxides of metals and ammonia. Not adhering to ethical or moral principles. Base and unpatriotic motives. Installation from which a military force initiates operations. The attack wiped out our forward bases. Use as a basis for, found on. Base a claim on some observation. A flat bottom on which something is intended to sit. A tub should sit on its own base. Anatomy, the part of an organ nearest its point of attachment. The base of the skull. Debased, not genuine. An attempt to eliminate the base coinage. Electronics, the part of a transistor that separates the emitter from the collector. Situate as a center of operations. We will base this project in the new lab. The bottom or lowest part. The base of the mountain. The bottom side of a geometric figure from which the altitude can be constructed. The base of the triangle. The principal ingredient of a mixture. Glycerinated gelatin is used as a base for many ointments. Used of metals, consisting of or alloyed with inferior metal. Base coins of aluminum. A relation that provides the foundation for something. They were on a friendly footing. Status with respect to the relations between people or groups. On a friendly footing. A place providing support for the foot in standing or climbing. Material in the top layer of the surface of the earth in which plants can grow, especially with reference to its quality or use. The part of a scene, or picture, that lies behind objects in the foreground. He posed her against a background of rolling hills. A rational motive for a belief or action. The grounds for their declaration. Hit or reach the ground. A relation that provides the foundation for something. Cover with a primer. Apply a primer to. A connection between an electrical device and a large conducting body, such as the Earth, which is taken to be at zero voltage. Fix firmly and stably. Use as a basis for, found on. Bring to the ground. The storm grounded the ship. The solid part of the Earth's surface. He dropped the logs on the ground. The loose soft material that makes up a large part of the land surface. The first or preliminary coat of paint or size applied to a surface. A position to be won or defended in battle, or as if in battle. They gained ground step by step. A relatively homogeneous percept extending back of the figure on which attention is focused. Art. The surface, as a wall or canvas, prepared to take the paint for a painting. Confine or restrict to the ground. After the accident, they grounded the plane and the pilot. Connect to a ground. Ground the electrical connections for safety reasons. Hit a ground ball. He grounded to the second baseman. Hit onto the ground. Instruct someone in the fundamentals of a subject. Place or put on the ground. Throw to the ground in order to stop play and avoid being tackled behind the line of scrimmage. The fundamental assumptions from which something is begun or developed or calculated or explained. A stone at the outer corner of two intersecting masonry walls. A stone in the exterior of a large and important building, usually carved with a date and laid with appropriate ceremonies. Education or instruction in the fundamentals of a field of knowledge. He lacks the foundation necessary for advanced study. Lowest support of a structure. A woman's undergarment worn to give shape to the contours of the body. The fundamental assumptions from which something is begun or developed or calculated or explained. The act of starting something for the first time, introducing something new. The foundation of a new scientific society. An institution supported by an endowment. The basis on which something is grounded. There is little foundation for his objections. Lowest support of a structure. The fundamental assumptions from which something is begun or developed or calculated or explained. The fleshy part of the human body that you sit on. Lowest support of a structure. The fundamental assumptions from which something is begun or developed or calculated or explained. Preliminary preparation as a basis or foundation. We are prepared today because of groundwork that was done 10 years ago. An individual quantity of food or drink taken as part of a meal. His portion was larger than hers. Assets belonging to or due to or contributed by an individual person or group. Something less than the whole of a human artifact. The allotment of some amount by dividing something. Money or property brought by a woman to her husband at marriage. Give out. Your overall circumstances or condition in life, including everything that happens to you. Success that was her portion. Something determined in relation to something that includes it. I read a portion of the manuscript. Something determined in relation to something that includes it. An artifact that is one of the individual parts of which a composite entity is made up, especially a part that can be separated from or attached to a system. A component or constituent element of a system. An abstract part of something. Two constituents of a musical composition are melody and harmony. Something determined in relation to something that includes it. The animal constituent of plankton. Constitutional in the structure of something, especially your physical makeup. Grammar. A word or phrase or clause forming part of a larger grammatical construction. A member of a constituency. A citizen who is represented in a government by officials for whom he or she votes. Needs continued support by constituents to be re-elected. The effort contributed by a person in bringing about a result. The actions and activities assigned to or required or expected of a person or group. The government must do its part. To some extent, in some degree, not wholly. I felt partly to blame. Assets belonging to or due to or contributed by an individual person or group. A portion of a natural object. They analyzed the river into 3 parts. Something less than the whole of a human artifact. The rear part of the house. One of the portions into which something is regarded as divided and which together constitute a whole. The written part of the exam. Discontinue an association or relation. Go different ways. The business partners broke over a tax question. The melody carried by a particular voice or instrument in polyphonic music. He tried to sing the tenor part. Force, take, or pull apart. Moses parted the Red Sea. An item that is an instance of some type. My dog swallowed a Lego part. A line of scalp that can be seen when sections of hair are combed in opposite directions. His part was right in the middle. Leave. The extended spatial location of something. Religions in all parts of the world. Go one's own way. Move apart. The friends separated after the party. Something determined in relation to something that includes it. He wanted to feel a part of something bigger than himself. An actor's portrayal of someone in a play. She played the part of Desdemona. Come apart. That which concerns a person with regard to a particular role or situation. It requires vigilance on our part. An artifact that is one of the individual parts of which a composite entity is made up, especially a part that can be separated from or attached to a system. Spare components for cars. An abstract part of something. Jealousy was a component of his character. Something determined in relation to something that includes it. The smaller component is hard to reach. A hypothesis that is taken for granted. A message expressing an opinion based on incomplete evidence. The cognitive process of supposing. A hypothesis that is taken for granted. The cognitive process of supposing. A hypothesis that is taken for granted. Any society is built upon certain assumptions. Audacious, even arrogant, behavior that you have no right to. A statement that is assumed to be true and from which a conclusion can be drawn. On the assumption that he has been injured, we can infer that he will not play. The act of taking possession of or power over something. His assumption of office coincided with the trouble in Cuba. Celebration in the Roman Catholic Church of the Virgin Mary's being taken up into heaven when her earthly life ended, corresponds to the Dormition in the Eastern Orthodox Church. Christianity. The taking up of the body and soul of the Virgin Mary when her earthly life had ended. The act of assuming or taking for granted. Your assumption that I would agree was unwarranted. A basis agreed to by all parties for reaching a mutual understanding. The fundamental part. Successful negotiation is the meat and potatoes of arbitration. A statement that makes something comprehensible by describing the relevant structure or operation or circumstances, etc. The explanation was very simple. The act of explaining, making something plain or intelligible. I heard his explanation of the accident. Thought that makes something comprehensible.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.